What's up guys, it's National Master Dem Apples here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be showing you how you should be playing the Italian. Now the Italian starts off with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, and a lot of people play knight f6, but a lot of people also don't like to play knight f6 because after knight f6 you can go knight g5, and all of a sudden it's like, uh-oh, what are you doing? Black, okay, my hot take on the fried liver is that it's not a bad opening at all. It's seen at the high level, and black needs to be very precise to achieve equality here. But, rest aside, most people play bishop to c5 to avoid the fried liver. And now, the way most people play the fried liver, I mean, the Italian, is that they go here, and then they go here, and then they castle, and they castle, and d3, and d6, and like, bishop out, and then white goes knight here, and then doubles the pawns and wins because black is playing pretty badly. This is not how you should be playing the Italian, because most of the time, well, first of all, right here, people can punish you, right? For example, they can try to get your bishop, they can attack your bishop. This is all covered in another video of mine. This is wrong, and the reason why knight c3 is wrong is because it blocks your c-pawn. Now, why is blocking your c-pawn such a big deal? Well, think about your normal endgame principles, right? You want to achieve control in the center by going d4, and the only way to do d4 safely is to reinforce it with c3 first. So, therefore, the correct way to play the Italian is to go c3 and advance d4. And if you do this, great things can happen. And I'm going to show you a game that might change your mind about the Italian. You might think it's boring. You might think it's, I don't know, weak. You might think that this is a stupid idea and that we should prioritize development instead, which is honestly fine, but not great. But this game will change your mind. Knight f6, d4. So white is taking control of the center right away. Pawn takes pawn, bishop check. Very logical moves here, right? And now white has to deal with his king, and all of a sudden his pawn is under fire as well. White blocks with the bishop, and black takes. Now, it's important to note that black could have taken here because his bishop is indeed defended, but we have a very interesting response. Bishop takes bishop, and bishop takes f7. Ooh, this is spicy. This is why I would play the Italian. King takes, queen b3 check. So we're winning our material back no matter what, and throw in this check for good measure. And it's equal material, right? Engine says it's like equal. But honestly, be honest. Who do you want to play here, black or white? Like, look at this king here. I don't think I would want to play black. Additionally, white has pretty nice development. He can quickly castle, and the c file could be of some use, as well as the e file. Like, say, white castles, brings the rook to e1, and goes f3. Look at the price at the end of the e file. This is pretty bad for black, in my opinion, but apparently it's equal. So good to know in case your opponent captures the pawn. In this game, the opponent captured the bishop, and after knight takes, you can see here why this version of the Italian, at least, looks a lot better than the other. White already has a big center, has a lot of pieces out, can get his rook to the c-file, and is ready to castle. Why is this not winning for white? Well, black plays the best move, striking in the center, trying to break it open right away. If your opponent just castles here, for example, they're already screwed. Like, you push your pawn to d5 or e5, and white is already much better. So after pawn d5, pawn takes pawn was played, and after knight takes pawn, queen b3 attacking this knight. Now, in the game, it's knight e7 that is played. It's worth noting that bishop e6 is viable because like it defends the knight. It does hang this pawn, and the game gets complex after knight b4, bishop b5. You can look into it yourself, but it's pretty interesting. Another option is knight a5, but after queen a4 check, you could repeat moves, but I wouldn't. I would just castle and continue playing this game. At any rate, knight e7 was played in the game. Castles, c6, best move actually, reinforcing the knight. White is playing the most logical moves ever, right? He's just putting rooks on open files, This is so logical, so easy. And now white goes a4. This is another common idea in the Italian. You just want to advance your a pawn as far as possible just to gain a lot of space on the queen side. Because generally nothing's happening on the king side. But if you go for the c3 d4 plan, sometimes something can happen on the king side, and we'll see what happens soon. So black is like, okay, I'm gonna get my bishop out. I'm a fianchetto it on b7. So bishop b6, knight e5. Applying a little bit of pressure here. If black does nothing about this, white will take, and after knight takes, bishop takes knight, and we're just removing the defender of this knight. So white has won a pawn. Bishop b7, a5. So black cannot take because he will hang his bishop, but also taking is just straight up a bad move. Black moves his rook to reinforce his pawn, but this is pretty bad because after knight e4, queen c7, a6 comes, and now you realize why white was pushing his pawn. Black's bishop is now absolutely dead in this corner. And so now the game continues for a few more moves, surprisingly. Remember when I said most of the play is on the queen side? Well, sometimes the play can switch to the king side. You see how all black's pieces are on the queen side, and they're all cramped. 1 point of material, think about it like this way, is stopping 1, 2, 3, 12, 15, 20 points of material. There has to be something on the king side. Full board vision, white goes queen to b3, and all of a sudden black is in trouble. These knights are really, really powerful, and black's king is right here, and white's queen is right here. It's going to get really bad real quick. Knight f4, queen g4, just inching ever so slightly closer to the king. Knight ed5 is played. Good move. But rook a3. Computer is not the biggest fan of this move, but I think it's brilliant. White utilizes the rook lift. He could have lifted this rook, but he also couldn't have because that would have hung his rook. So he really lifts this rook, getting ready to go rook g3, or in some cases, rook h3 or rook f3, applying pressure on the king side. You can see how black's pieces are just doing squat. Knight e6 is played, and this is the blunder of the game. Because black needs to maintain a piece on d5 in order to hold everything down, like this bishop and these knights, He has to maintain this. But the second that this is gone, f6 is now weakened. White removes the defender of f6 and hops in with the knight. And all of a sudden, black only has one move, utilizing the pin, of course, on the pawn. The pawn cannot capture the knight. And now white goes queen g6. An absolutely brilliant move. And you might be reminded by a Frank Marshall game that was very similar here. And black is already screwed. He has to go knight g5 and hang his knight. Now, the most obvious move is to take, but this is just checkmate. And if black takes with the other pawn, white can go check. King cannot go to g8 because it's covered by this hanging knight, which is kind of funny. And after h takes g6, rook h3 is also checkmate because knight controls all the squares. So this is a very, very nice line. And I was looking at some databases and people actually fell for this, which is kind of crazy. This 19th century game or 20th century game. It was a while ago, but it's a brilliant game, and most people don't know about this. So queen c2 is played. I think this is a very valiant try from black. First of all, he's baiting white into going queen takes checkmate, but it's not checkmate because he takes here. Second of all, he's baiting white into just taking his queen because after queen takes queen, rook takes queen, black is actually out of trouble for the most part because the queens are off the board and now white's got a hanging knight here. Unfortunately for black, white did not play this, and instead, after queen to c2, he played rook to h3. And all of a sudden, the pawn is still pinned, and black still cannot take anything. He resigned. Because if he takes here, well, this is checkmate. So here, checkmate. Otherwise, rook takes h7, checkmate is threatened, and there's nothing that can be done here. If you take the queen, white will take back, and you have to take this way, and this will also be checkmate. And lastly, but not leastly, black can try h6, I guess, but after rook takes h6, sacrificing the rook, and takes, black is forced to block with the queen, and after queen takes h7, this is checkmate. So you can see how c3, this all started from c3, right? It activated all of white's pieces. It allowed for the rook lift later, allowed for white's very nice queen b3, and allowed white very nice control of the center. So, hopefully you learned something from this video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.